Hello all and welcome, and I am the MGTOW philosopher, and in this video I would like to discuss the Nawalt versus Awalt argument, and why there's so much misunderstanding and confusion surrounding the two. Now first off, let me start off by defining our terms. What Awalt means is that all women are like that. Like what, you might ask? Well, greedy, gold-digging, narcissistic, controlling, childish, petty, emotional, oftentimes cruel, totally lacking in morals, ethics, or empathy. No scruples, no logic, no reason, poor critical thinking skills, little if any ability to think abstractly, crappy with money, unconcerned about the future, claims to be independent, all the while taking a man's money or money from the state, which is the same difference really. Oh, and deep down or not so deep down hates men and blames them for everything. Awalt. That is what an Awalt is, and all women are like that. In contrast, it's pretty easy to figure out what Nawalt means. Not all women are like that. The trumpet call of the white knight. Now, I get tired of the white knights and pussy-whipped simps out there coming to my channel and other channels complaining about MGTOW guys and what they have to say about women when we say all women are like that. You don't know all women. You've just been hurt, and you're lashing out. Not all women are like that. There are good women out there. Just because you've had bad luck doesn't mean that all women are like that. You need to stop hating women and give them a chance. You need to stop saying that all women are like that. Yeah. That's a woman talking, okay? Only women talk like that. Well, women and guys who've had their balls cut off and who are essentially eunuchs. Now, men who use the term Awalt, we're not doing so because we've been hurt or because we hate women. And now, of course, all men have had their hearts ripped out at one point or another in their life by a woman. But so what? That doesn't mean we hate women. You see, men, for the most part, we got thick skins, we got thick hearts, and we're well used to women's crap. And once we get older, we're well fortified against their nonsense. And unlike women, we don't get bitter towards everyone else of the opposite sex just because we got hurt once or twice. Men are simply not that emotional. However, that's the way women view the world, believing that men's motives match their own. Of course, this is nothing more than women seeing how they came to hate men and then assuming that because they got to that point for such and such a reason, that must be the case for men and that we got to that point for the same reason. It's just projection on a woman's part and more egalitarianism bullshit, with women once again erroneously assuming that men and women are the same. Hence, how we act and react is all going to come down to the same motivations. Nope, that's not how men deal with women, or reality for that matter. We don't conflate the harm we suffered at the hands of one woman with all women. No way. You see, unlike women, we use logic and reason. We look at statistics and data. We look at all women objectively and how they act as a whole. We look at general trends and what things are like now in the real world. We know very well that you have to judge individuals as individuals and groups as groups. However, that said, at some point you have to acknowledge the numbers. And if the numbers are overwhelming and the evidence is overwhelming, then you do indeed need to start looking at all women and judging them all as a whole. Because, except for a few outliers, they really are all like that. And when we say all women, we know what we're talking about. We know what the divorce rate is. We know what the divorce rate is. We know what the odds are. We know how women file for divorce, as how often women file for divorce as opposed to men. We know about no-fault divorce. We know that generally speaking, women don't turn down child support. We know they generally don't refuse alimony. We know they want to get married for the goodies because people only do things if there's an incentive, and that's the only incentive for women. I mean, honestly, what are men saying when we use the word Awalt that isn't true? What is it that you white knights and women object to anyway when we say Awalt? Is it that we don't acknowledge the exceptions to the rule and that they exist? Oh, I see. The white knights and simps and pussies and women object to us not using the qualifier not at the start of Awalt. Or something like Mawalt instead, meaning most women are like that, instead of all women are like that. Oh, I see. Of course, Mawalt, that's not even really accurate either. So let's look at what an exception to a rule is anyway, okay? Okay, let's say, for example, that you buy a Ford car. Now, generally speaking, Ford are good vehicles. However, sometimes there's a problem. A loose gasket or some other manufacturer defect. Does that mean that Fords aren't great cars? No, it only means that occasionally there's an outlier, a hiccup. A Ford car or truck that doesn't fit the usual rule for what is a Ford. But so what? So what if there is on occasion a bad car made by Ford? That doesn't matter because the overwhelming majority of Ford cars and trucks are very well made. And the number of defective Fords is very small indeed. Less than 1% end up having any problems. Hence, the rule that Fords are high-quality vehicles is not disproven simply by an exception. So, when we men say women are this or women are that, we do mean all of them. Minus the outliers, of course, because really, who gives a shit about outliers? They're too small a number to be relevant, and therefore too small to be considered in the Awalt argument anyway. You know, feminism and cultural Marxism have destroyed women. Totally destroyed them. There are literally no women who have escaped the death blow to women that is feminism. They've all been poisoned by it in one way or another. That said, are there some women out there who might be worth our time, meaning we men would somehow benefit from being with them long term? No. Because even if there were such women out there, the laws would still allow them to ass rape a man and take him for everything he's got. Everything! Even if he only lives with her and doesn't marry her, she can still ass rape him via things like the Duluth model, where she can smack a man around, then have him sent to jail for her beating him. No need to be married. She can just be living in your house. Heck, she doesn't even have to be living with a man. Just visiting him is enough. That said, do I acknowledge that there are individual women out there who are good women, despite the impossibility of being with them in any serious way due to a stilted legal system? Maybe. I mean, statistically speaking, they must exist. After all, if there are exceptions to every rule, then I suppose they would have to exist. But so what? Who gives a shit? We're talking about a very few individuals, and they're in no way representative of the whole. Not even close. Just as I can't judge Ford cars based on the exceptions that are made poorly, I also can't judge all women based on the few good ones. I must approach them all from an Awalt point of view. Duh! Hence, of course, we say all women are like that. That there are exceptions to a rule only proves the rule. It doesn't negate it. And really, I could give a crap if there's some exceptions to the rule out there. If 99 out of 100 parachutes fail to open, who the fuck is going to jump out of an airplane? A moron with a death wish? Yeah, that's who. Someone who likes to play Russian roulette with a gun that has 100 chambers, but only one of those chambers out of 100 is empty. Bad odds. If 93.4% of marriages fail within the first 10 years, not to mention how many others fail after that point, and how many that survive actually have a happy man in them, I'd have to be a moron to get married. If 93 out of 100 parachutes doesn't open, what kind of person would I have to be to go skydiving? That's right. Full retard times 2. Times 10. We men don't give a rat's ass about exceptions to any rule. We don't give a crap if they exist, and the fact that they do isn't going to make us say Nawalt instead of Awalt. Because statistically speaking, it's simply too few to be worth mentioning. And when you say Nawalt, it implies that there's a sizable number of women out there who aren't like that. It gives men hope. False hope. It's misleading. It sends the message that you can find that special exception if you look hard enough. But it's an exception for a reason, because it doesn't adhere to the rule. The rule! Exceptions are rare. They're outliers. They're more akin to unicorns than anything else. To simply say not all women are like that implies that only some are like that, or even in the minds of some men that most are not like that. However, the truth is that there are only a handful of exceptions, less than 1%, less than 1/10 of 1%. So of course we say Awalt. For practical purposes, all women really are like that. For practical purposes, you cannot plan your life for happiness around that rare exception, nor should you. Find happiness for yourself within yourself. Don't seek it in others, because you won't find it, and the odds are against it. You got a better chance winning big in a casino than of finding a so-called Miss Right out there, because she doesn't exist, not in any way that is statistically significant. And how would you know, anyway, if she was one of those rare outliers? Practically every fool who gets married thinks he's found the one, and he's proven wrong pretty much every time. So for all you white knight, cuck, pussy whip manginas out there who want to keep saying, Nawalt, let me just say this. Yeah, okay. I, as a MGTOW guy, will acknowledge that some rare unicorns exist. Somewhere out there, they're walking around. Somewhere in the ether, in the forgotten mists, covering the most remote and unexplored places in the world, they exist. Okay, I admit it. But so the hell what? It doesn't matter, because more than 99 out of 100 times the parachute isn't going to open. More than 99 out of 100 times that Ford truck isn't going to be a piece of crap. Now, you can argue with my numbers and say there are way more unicorns out there than what I've stated, though I ain't seen them, nor has any other man. And you white knight pussies, you can't show them to us. Where are these unicorns? Show them to us. You just keep disagreeing by saying, Nawalt, Nawalt, which, by the way, isn't even an argument. You don't actually produce any evidence that these so-called Nawalts exist, except on rare occasion to name some supposed exception to the rule. But who gives a damn? Yeah, sometimes some dude falls out of a 10-story window and survives. Sometimes man bites dog, but so the hell what? The vast majority of the time it's the other way around, and you know it. But you white knights, you go ahead and keep using your emotions and subjective reasoning to come to conclusions about what is and isn't right based on your own wishful thinking. Meanwhile, we guys who haven't been brainwashed to hate ourselves and put women on pedestals, we'll keep using logic, objective reason, common sense, statistics, and plain old reality to inform us. Yeah, women who don't fit the mold of the Awalt do exist, but because there's so few of them, it would be stupid to change Awalt to Nawalt. And it would also be misleading to all guys out there by making them believe that more exceptions exist than actually do. They don't. They're called exceptions for a reason. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.